I'd be in there working already if they gave me the start date, you know. I showed that I knew the basics of the topic, you know, but I wanted to get his opinion on those things. And I think he kind of appreciated that.
Was there anything else that you feel like pushed you across the finish line and made you the no-brain guy to give the offer? Dude, I did the math from when you said you landed your first interview with this company to when you got
Yeah.
the offer, and I think it was just 10 days.
Yeah.
Did you think
Yep.
that was gonna happen coming into this program?
So, no, not really. And this one was one that was kind of around from before I got into the program. I don't know if you
Yeah,
recall or if I explained the whole situation, but
yeah,
I got reached out on LinkedIn from some person who was like, "Hey, we'd like to schedule an interview with you."
yeah,
Um and then when I spoke to them, it was, they had like Indian accents, and like, oh, let me, obviously using a fake name.
yeah, yeah.
And then he transferred me over to someone else, had an interview with them, and then completely dropped off the face of the earth for like 2 weeks. And they got back to me and they were like, hey, so the owner wants to meet with you. And it's like, oh, okay. We'll see what this is about then.
Oh
So
my
yeah, it
goodness.
worked out.
Well, you went from around what, like 45K, 43K a year in
It was
medical?
probably like 42 or 43 if I had to guess.
Okay.
Something like that, yeah. And I was
Okay.
working like 10-hour days, busting my butt.
So tell me about like
Yeah,
what was your mindset in terms of your career? Did you feel stuck? Because I know you were very successful with solar, but did you kind of feel
yeah.
stuck at some point?
I did. It was supposed to be a temporary job. I was only supposed to be in it for a couple months while I found something else, but
Mhm.
I liked the people there. The patients, really liked me and kept wanting me to stay and didn't want me to leave.
Yeah.
But I was working my butt off. It was a pretty stressful job. I was seeing a whole bunch of patients a day and then making like 60 to 120 calls and voicemails a day as well. And I was like, if I'm putting in this kind of work, I might as well go to tech sales,
Yeah,
where I
man.
can actually make money.
Are you kidding me? I know.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
that was kind of the thing that led me towards tech sales. And I'd been in sales before, but it just was a whole new realm of sales that I hadn't been in yet.
Yeah.
So,
How did
yeah.
you even come across tech? And I know ultimately you didn't end up specifically like in a SaaS company, right? But how did
Yeah.
you discover tech?
So before I got into the medical assistant job, right after solar, I'd looked into tech sales and I was starting to go down that road.
Yeah.
And then I kind of landed the other job, and then, the search kind of stopped at that time.
Mhm.
And then when I got super fed up with it, I was like, I got to get back into it. So it took me like over a year to jump back into the search for tech sales stuff. But I circled back into it.
And tell me, what is
Yeah.
this company that you're going to? What do they specifically do?
So they do printers and copiers and document management and like mailing machines and stuff like that for companies.
Cool.
So it's not like a remote job necessarily. So I'll have basically in my hometown of Reading, I'll have the southern Reading half, and then Anderson, Cottonwood, and Red Bluff underneath that. So I'll have the whole section, the whole territory there of businesses. And so I can just basically go around and see who needs printers, copiers, things like that. Um,
Like,
so the pay is um the salary is 45,000 per year, but the commission, there's a whole bunch of different tiers on commission, and then there's bonuses versus if you sell one company versus another, like Sharp or Lexmark or whatever it may be. So there's all different ways to make money in it. But it seems like a great company to work for. He was like, I don't have a single salesman making under 100,000 a year. He's like, I think you'll be super happy here. You seem like you'd fit in with the people. And we take very good care of our people here. He was mentioning there was one guy who had like a double lung surgery and they paid for him to be out of work for like 6 months. He's like, we just paid him, you know? And then there was another guy who had like a premature baby and he was out for like 2 almost 3 months and they paid him the whole time, you know?
Wow.
And so he's like, we take care of our people here. We care about you. You're not just another number. And so it's like, that's super cool, you know? And everyone's been there a really long time, which is a green flag. You
Yeah,
know,
man. Yeah.
the guy I was talking to has been there 34 years. The guy who just retired was there for 42 years.
That's a
So
great sign. And,
yeah,
like, even if, let's say it was only 45K a year, only,
yeah,
but to go from where you were at 43-ish K to
right.
45K to then have a completely different culture, so
Yeah,
worth it. But then you add
yeah,
on the fact that no one's making less than 100 grand there a year. And
yeah,
they really care about you and your growth. And now you're in, is it software? Not technically, but you're in hardware. And so that
yeah.
tech, you're in tech, bro. Like you did it. And
Yeah,
now
yeah.
let's
And
say,
there's a document management side of it, which kind of is,
yeah,
that's
like
more
a
software stuff, but yeah,
service provider type thing. Yeah, 100%. And
exactly.
now you're gonna have the resume. Not you might not want to leave, man. You might be one of these people that's there for 40 years, but
Yeah, I might.
if you ever did, you've got the resume experience now to be able to tell that story of, hey, I already belong
Right.
here. I've already been an account executive, closing deals, running territories, and
Yeah,
for you to jump into a 200K AE role in the next 2 years is not unrealistic.
right.
So
Yeah, so I'm stoked about it. They also have a very old school selling style. You know, it's show up face to face. You know, leave your business card and
yeah,
so I was like, if I can bring some of the newer, tech sales aspects into this, maybe it just amplify what I can do, and he's open to changing things as well. He's like, if you find something else that works, he's like, that's great. We're willing to adopt new things. He's like, just make sure you share it with the other people and don't hoard it to yourself. I was like,
yeah,
yeah, for
man.
sure.
He's a good leader,
So
I can tell. Cares about his
yeah,
people. He wants you guys to be
definitely.
autonomous, supportive. That's really
Yeah.
important to be in that environment. I'm curious to hear, is anyone doing like gifting strategies over there? Like, is anyone bringing donuts or that kind of stuff to the?
That I don't know yet. So I haven't actually started yet. I've only been there a few times. But when I was a medical assistant, I would meet all of the pharmaceutical reps that would come in, and that was their whole strategy.
Yeah,
They'd
exactly.
show up with drinks or donuts or lunch for everyone. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes they'd be paying, 900, $1,000 for lunch for everyone there.
But hey, on
So
a 20K deal, it's like that's chump change,
yeah,
man. Come on.
exactly.
Yeah, man. I'm
Yeah,
excited to brainstorm a little bit with you once you're in there.
yeah,
You're part of the sword community for your career now, so any support you
yeah.
need, we're gonna have your back. And if you ever do want to
Awesome.
make a change, we're gonna be right here to help you with that. But yeah, man, I'm just really proud of you. We when we started this journey, we were very intentional to like surrender this to the Lord, and we were like, all
Yeah,
right, God, we don't know what's gonna happen, but this is yours. We trust you. You're a good father. You're gonna take care of
yeah,
Kyle. And I didn't know this is how this was going to end so quickly and in hardware.
yeah,
That wasn't on my radar.
yeah.
But
Right.
God knows exactly where you need to be, and it's such a blessing that He's put you where you are. I'm so excited to see where you go from here. It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate your help along the way. Jumping into your program, the way you have everything set up is just do this, then this, then this, then this, so there's no second guessing yourself on like, oh, what do I do next? It's like just follow the instructions, dude. You've got videos already laid out for everything. So even though we're on different times, you're ending your day 3 hours before me, I was able to just go down the list and do what you were saying, so um you
Yeah.
definitely make it really easy to kind of just follow the program without needing hand-holding.
Yeah, and the way I've set it up is intentional, where it's like for the people that that just want to go execute like you,
Yeah.
just go. You've got the whole process, go. Then I've
Right.
got people who are like, "Hey, I need the hand holding. I need the FaceTime. I need," and it's like I've
Yeah.
got structure for that as well. And so for you to be able to jump in and be one of those people, because all of my clients are on this spectrum of like, I need a lot of help, or I'm
Yeah.
just going to go get it done, and no one's better
Mhm.
or worse. It's just where we all are. But for you
Right.
to jump in and just go, "Hey, 10 days after getting this interview, I've got an offer." It's like, bro, come on, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yep.
Awesome,
And it
man.
helps that the first guy I spoke to was the director of sales and marketing there. He's like the head guy. He drove specifically into town to meet with me
Yeah.
because I think he lives in Eureka. So he um he drove in to meet with me, and I even mentioned, "Thank you for your time. I know you had a lot of other options, so I appreciate you, choosing me to bring me on board." When he gave me the offer agreement, he's like, "You're right. I did have quite a few other options, but I really like your drive, and you've been in sales before, and I can tell you have what it takes." So,
Yeah.
the interview prep definitely helped because one thing he asked is, what do you know about our company? Because he
Ah,
mentioned that he did research on me. He looked at
ah.
my LinkedIn. He saw like my posts about sales and cold calling and stuff. And so he liked that, but he's like, "So what do you know about our company?" And I just
How'd you
started spitting out stuff about
yeah,
about
how'd you
them.
tackle that? Because I think people listening, that's a question that comes up in interviews all the time is, "Hey, what research did you do? What do you know about us?" So how did you attack that, and why do you think it went so
Yeah.
well?
So I actually kind of spun it around to ask questions to where he knew that I had done research, but I wanted to find out even more based on the research I had done.
Hmm.
So I said, "I noticed you guys have three locations, and um, basically, I said I'd looked up your competitors, and it looked like you guys are competing with this person, this person, this." I spouted off a few of them, and I said, "But I'd never really heard of the other ones. Are they even actually your competitors, or is that just, what ChatGPT is saying?" And then he kind of went more into depth into that. And so I showed that I knew the basics of the topic, but I wanted to get his opinion on those things. And I think he kind of appreciated that, that I already kind of knew what I was talking about, but wanted to hear more from him on it. Yeah. So and it helped that at the other company I was at, Powerhouse Solar, we were technically going through one of his competitors for
Hmm.
our printer and all of our needs for that. But my mom, who was the boss, I asked her about it, and she's like, honestly, didn't really like going through them. They were kind of unprofessional. Like if there needed to be a fix, like he'd show up in sweats or something. And so at least he showed up. But um so this other guy, we're very professional, no jeans, like you're showing up in like slacks and a nice business shirt, and so you handle yourself very professionally on the job here, which is
Yeah, man.
good.
How you do
Um
one thing is how you do everything. So
that's right. Yep.
that's good,
Yeah.
man. So
So
that answer makes a lot of sense in terms of, him being impressed with it, because you're not just asking a question, you're demonstrating you did way deeper research than any other candidate has done, and then you're asking a question
yeah.
on top of it. An example of that that comes to mind is like a lot of people will ask, "Hey, what's the team culture like over there?" That's like
Yeah.
that's kind of a dumb question to
Yeah.
ask.
Generic. Yeah.
What you should ask is, "Hey, so I got to speak to Claudia and Tom on the team. They had great things to say about the culture, how it's collaborative, competitive. What are some specific things you're doing as a manager to make sure you maintain that culture?" Because now the
Yeah.
manager's like, "Holy smokes, you already talked to two of my reps and you're
Yeah.
validating things that we know internally. Yeah, you're like way ahead of the 99% of candidates that ask about the culture." So I love that
Right.
example, Kyle, that you just gave, because
Yeah.
it's the same question, it's just a different way to ask it.
Yeah. And so I started out, I mentioned that um I was like, I know that you did some research on me. I also like to do some research as well. I noticed you've been at the company for 34 years. Is that right? And he's like, yep, yep. I've been at the company for 34 years. I was like, I noticed there was another gentleman who's been there for like 42 years or something. And he's like, ah, yeah, Dave. Yeah, he just retired. Great guy,
Yeah,
you know.
Dave.
And then I I mentioned, and then as far as the products go, I saw a post that you did a while ago about a scoreboard for a school gym. I was like, that's very interesting to me because it's not really on what I saw of your product list. Was that something you guys normally do, you know? And then he jumped into the background on that. He's like, well, technically it's a Sharp product, blah, 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 you know, and so went off onto that.
So
So
cool.
he could clearly see that I had done some research on it for sure, you know.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you feel like pushed you across the finish line and made you the no-brain guy to give the offer?
Um, You know, I think it was my confidence. He could tell that I wasn't really afraid of, rejection or going into the meeting at all. I could go in, look him straight in the eye, shake his hand, be like, "How you doing?" And that's what it takes, in that kind of role.
Yes.
Um, you know, I've been into so many people's homes and businesses for solar that it's just like, doesn't matter. I'll talk to anyone, I don't even care.
Yeah, man.
So,
You've got that
yeah,
confidence for sure. And you
yeah,
carry this presence of peace, and obviously it's like the Holy Spirit in you. But like
yeah,
if I put you in a room, that room's going to get a lot more peaceful and people are going to feel just comfortable and okay. And so I think that's a
yeah,
gift God's given you and it obviously gets to be used a lot in sales. So
right.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
What did it feel like to get the offer?
So it felt good. It was they kind of, strung me along a little bit. They're like, "Oh yeah, I'll send the offer, tomorrow when I get a chance." And then I was supposed to get it like in the morning, and they called me. It's like, "Hey, I've been super busy. I'll send it by end of day." And I finally got it, and I'm reading through it, and I'm like, there's all these different things to it. So I'm like, how does it actually stack up? Like, how much money am I actually going to be making if I
Right.
like crush it? Because I was like, the base is 45,000, which is about close to where I was before, and then it just goes up from there. But I was like, how hard are these other things to hit?
Yeah.
So I was kind of trying to like do the math a little bit in my head. um, but they put my mind at ease when they were like, "Listen, no one here makes under 100K.
Yeah.
Like you'll
Yeah.
be good if you're willing to put in the work." And it's like I'm willing to work. It's like
Right.
I'd be in there working already if they gave me the start date. So
It's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, it can be a little disconnecting when you're looking at all the legal terms and stuff. You're like, "Wait, hold on, what's happening
Yeah.
here?" But then, when they tell you that, it's like, "Okay, cool. I trust you guys. Let's go make
Right.
some money." So,
Yeah, exactly. So I
sweet.
kind of just had to, okay, I'll take your word for it. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
dude, congrats. God is so good, and, like I said, don't be a stranger to Sword. Anything you need,
Yeah,
we're gonna be right
definitely.
here to help you, okay?
Yeah, and I've already kind of pointed two people towards your direction, like to check out your YouTube videos and stuff. So they may be joining at some point, we'll see.
Awesome.
So that'll be super cool. But yeah, awesome. I
That's cool.
really appreciate your help, man, and the process that you help people go through and just the knowledge that you share. It's definitely valuable.
I appreciate you being willing to show up and work hard. That's all it takes.
Yeah.